11, 2023. In the Guam Daily Post on Tuesday, January 4th, 2023, and Monday, January 9th, 2023. Director, roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Eclavea,
Present.
Vice Chairman Leguanya,
Yes, yeah.
Secretary Treasurer Cruz,
Here.
Commissioner Camacho. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Camacho contacted me and advised me that she's out sick today. She will not be able to attend. Commissioner Orlino.
Noted.
I do not at this time see Commissioner Orlino online. Hopefully she'll be logging in. She has not contacted us to let us know of her status. Commissioner Rios,
Present.
Commissioner Westling. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Westling contacted us and informed me that she's attempting to log on. Hopefully she'll be logged on within the next few minutes. You have a quorum of 4 for operations and business.
Okay. Very good, Sijus Masi, Director. Director, let me ask you, shall we go ahead? And I know we got some time constraints with Melanie, with Gita. She's got an appointment. So do you think we should move with the approval of the minutes to allow Commissioner Westling to come on, or shall we just go ahead and move with bringing item number 7B?
I would
Right.
recommend, so we have not just the Gita Chief Executive Officer here, we also have her staff. And I see we have Jason from Raymond James. And I'm not sure there's somebody from BGIS, Bank of Guam Investment Services.
Yes, Marie Pelkey-Scrow also on the line, and Ali Leon Guerrero on the line from BGIS.
Okay, so we do have everyone we need to explain to us if we have any issues or questions with the proposed ancestral lands IPS. So I would recommend that we move forward with that, because that gives us a lot of time, gives us more time to be with these folks while they're here, and then we could conduct our other business right after. So yes, I would agree that somebody makes a motion to amend the agenda and move that item number 7B, ancestral lands investment policy statement, up to the top of the agenda.
We'll move.
Okay. So moved by Vice Chair. So we're gonna move item 7B up before the approval of the minutes. So on 3, we're gonna have the GLC investment policy statement. So Gita, you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Happy New Year to all of you. And thank you again for having us at today's meeting, and of course for the expediting our time with you in the agenda. I wanted to just go over a few things. So just to refresh everyone's memory, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission entered into a memorandum of understanding with GITA. Historically, our MOU has been used for property management and for a kind of representation along the lines of managing your real property. And so the idea was posed that that the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission had the land bank trust monies available for investment as well, and wanted some stewardship and some guidance. And seeing as GITA had a standing investment committee managed, so the board has, the board set up an investment committee. The investment committee is chaired by our board director, Jun Espaldon. What we were looking to do was to partner and be the training wheels for the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission until the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission is nice and up and running and very comfortable with what's going on in the financial markets to be able to handle all of this on your own. And so we came together, we utilized GITA's existing contractors, which are Raymond James, represented today by Jason Miashta, and BGIS, represented today by Alexandra Leon Guerrero, as well as Marie Scrow. And we came together in a meeting to decide how to proceed. So the MOU was approved prior, and the next step is to adopt what's called the investment policy statement. So the investment policy statement, which is included in your board packets, this is the final draft of the IPS. The IPS is what all organizations, nonprofits, government entities, institutions utilize as a roadmap, in addition to kind of a report card. And so what it does is it sets the parameters for what you shall invest, the menu of investments, so that you don't go too far one way or too far the other way. So what's going on in the markets right now? Our colleagues from our investment companies can certainly speak to it more intelligently than I can. But what we are experiencing is a lot of volatility in the market over the last 12 months. However, this volatility provides an excellent opportunity for the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission to start investing. Number one, because it's very exciting, so you learn a lot. And and also because the market is up and down, so you can really get a sense of true life, of what really occurs as you're managing your money. It's kind of hard when you jump in the market when the market is on kind of a bull run, you know, where it just keeps going up and up and up. You think you're the smartest people in the room, and then the market goes down, and then all of a sudden you feel bad about yourself, right? And you think you did something wrong, when much of this is just the nature of the financial markets. In any case, 2023 is expected to be volatile as well, though not quite as much, a little bit more dampened than 2022. So not quite as much volatility to be expected. Having said that, there's the U.S. continues to support Ukraine in that conflict. There's some political dramas going on, not only here at home, but also in the United States with leadership, right? And a number of other factors that continue to put pressure on the market. Given that, the commissioners that attended, so we had multiple meetings to go over the IPS. The first thing we did was we looked at all the canned language in the IPS, and we said, how much of this is standard stuff, and then how much of this do we tailor to Guam Ancestral Lands Commission? That was kind of the subject of the first meeting. The subject of the second meeting was really, how comfortable are we with the ups and the downs of the market? Of course, we're all comfortable with ups, but how comfortable are we if the market went down 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%? I believe right now, the last report I read was the S&P 500 is down like 19% or so, or was down 19% in 2022, something along those lines. Wow. And what was determined by those who attended the investment committee meeting was that we're not comfortable with that kind of, those sustained levels of loss at the 20% level. That's crazy to us. What was discussed was that we are comfortable with accepting that we will have limited returns with a conservative approach, but more than that, we'll protect our downside. And as fiduciaries of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Land Bank Trust, our biggest priority is protecting this money, protecting number one, but also growing and getting a better return than what we're getting currently at the banks. That's the second priority. So the IPS dictated that we'd be going towards a more conservative approach. So there's conservative, moderate, aggressive. The investment committee said we're not aggressive, and we're more conservative, moderate, conservative to moderate. And so that was decided as the best place to advise the commission on where to start. So for today's board meeting, a couple actions just need to take place. The first is a motion to adopt the IPS as presented that has been reviewed and vetted over multiple meetings by the investment committee by the investment committee. So adopting the IPS, that would be the first board action. The second board action would be designating the amounts to go to into the investment accounts. And then the third would be really just, actually, this is not a board action needed, but the third would be acknowledging that the investment committee is looking towards, is advising that we take a conservative to conservative moderate approach. And with that charge, we'll move forward, and we will report about once a quarter how the market is performing. So really just two board actions. The first is the IPS adoption, And the second is the designation of the amounts to be invested with the investment advisors. Director Birch, did I cover everything?
Pretty much, Mel, thank you very much. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Westling just logged in.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Commissioner. Okay,
Thank you.
continue.
Okay, so
Director.
Mr. Chair and commissioners, like what Mel just said is one of the first things to do is first to adopt the IPS. Then we would take a second part, basically to decide the amount and how, I guess we're gonna invest the strategy that we're gonna use. So,
No, not the
basic,
strategy, the amount, just
the amount?
designated the amounts, and then the
Okay.
investment committee will advise on the strategy.
On the
and
strategy.
the
Okay,
approach
so it'll be
going
two,
forward.
be a second, okay. There'll be something else coming up later on. So I guess we'll have a discussion, if any, from any of the commissioners on any issues they may have had with the IPS that you have before you. Basically, the purpose of this, like what Mel explained earlier, is to establish a very clear understanding of what the Board of Commissioners want for their goals and objectives, and to establish these guidelines that will control the level of overall risk and liquidity relevant to achieving your goals and objectives. That's what the IPS basically does in a nutshell. I hope all of you have had your time to read it.
Has anybody not taken time to review the or has not the opportunity to review the IPS? I take it everybody has.
And
Any
if there's any-
questions?
Yeah, if there's none, then Mr. Chair, we should move for a vote to adopt it or to approve it.
Okay,
I have a
I got a question. Okay, go ahead first, Vice Chair Laguarnia.
Yeah, having just briefly reviewing the IPS. Just to clarify, Director Birch, are we going to place our monies in a term of 2 years? Is that, I thought I might have seen that. Is that for 2-year term?
Yeah, that's at the end of the policy statement. What we should do is exclude the last 2 pages on that, and we'll turn that over to the investment committee to come back and make a recommendation and vote. And that'll be to exclude the last 2 pages, page 16 and 17, and pretty much vote on the rest of the IPS and get that out of the way. And then I believe that's what Mel was saying, is that when we come to decision on the amount, that will be our next decision to do, that we can work on today. And then later it would be where the investment committee itself will come back to us with an advice on how or what strategy we're going to use. And
To
that will
clarify-
determine the time horizon and everything else.
And to clarify, Commissioner Laguarnia, the time horizon, that portion is not locking it in for 2 years.
Okay,
It's really just the time horizon means the appetite for drawing down on the funds. There's a certain portion of it that will be more liquid, and a certain portion that'll be more medium term, like 2 years, as far as if we're start to pay out of the land bank trust within 2 years, and then a
Right.
portion of it that's longer than 2 years. That was that sort of the time horizon just speaks to not locked in, but
Right.
just what the approximate usage over time of
Okay.
the accounts would be.
okay. And I think also we need to let other members know that I think at any time we can always shift our investments from either aggressive to more conservative, or whatever strategy would like within the duration of that term, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner. Well, really what you would do is you'd start off as a conservative allocation. Everything is stocks, bonds, cash. Okay.
Right.
It's just a matter of, do you have a larger concentration of stocks, a larger
Mhm.
concentration of bonds, a larger concentration of cash. And so what tends to happen, at least what in my historical experience, is that we'll be kind of conservative to start because, we're beginners. We don't, we're getting our feet wet. And then we start to see more reliable returns, and we say, we're more comfortable taking a little more risk, and then the investment committee can make that recommendation to start to shift away from conservative towards moderate or aggressive.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Commissioner Wessling, did you signal did you have a question? Oh. Yeah, and also,
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Also, the question of whether or not whether we should even at all go aggressive, considering the fiduciary duty to the trust. That's a question whether we should go aggressive or even moderate. But we can answer that down the road, correct?
Yes, to start off, I think what the investment committee had discussed was recommending that we start off conservative until we get a little more comfortable and find our sea legs. And then, definitely start to take some measured risk.
One more question I have is regarding when we transfer the funds to the managers. Where does that fund actually go first? And is there any risk in that where that money's being held, or?
No, so thank you, sir, for that question. And Marie and Ali and Jason, you guys can back me up on this. When it is, so your first, the first action the board would take would be to adopt the IPS. The second would be to determine if it's a 50-50 split, like, so you have $15 million, you're going to put 7.5 in one and 7.5 in the other. There's a physical check written to these two brokerage companies or a wire transfer done into these two brokerage companies. And these two, they will be in a money market fund. And so a money market fund, so this is like a equivalent to like a cash investment, that an interest-bearing investment, until such time that an asset allocation is determined. So if we're going to go conservative, it could be placed immediately in a conservative portfolio. Or if you say, no, we need a little more time, we'd like to have one more investment committee meeting, we can hold off and it would just be in a cash account. But bear in mind that if it remains in a cash type of or money market type of account, you're looking at higher returns than a bank, albeit similar returns to a bank. Jason, Alexandra, do you want to clarify at all, or Marie?
No, I think you summed it up. It's very
Yeah,
simple.
that's
We can
correct,
trace the
yeah.
money, where it's coming from and where it's going to.
I think it may be
Okay.
important to note too, Mel, that the account holder will be the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. So you'll be the signatory of any transfers out of the fund.
I see. So is there a holding place or something? Like a holding account? Is that how? There'll be a holding account?
Yes, usually so the brokerage has a bank so it's a bank to bank type of transfer. But the brokerage firm itself, so Raymond James and BGIS, they have a bank that the money will go from bank to bank, but then those investments are held within the within that account.
Okay. Where I'm getting at is that is it just the same as, let's say we went with a certain amount to invest in and we left the other amount into the banks? Is that advisable to just, because all we're concerned about is why we're moving this is the banks. We're not safe in the banks, or we just don't like the returns in the bank, and we're just very uncomfortable with leaving those in the bank. So that's what I'm talking about, that holding account.
Sure. So
is that
the holding account can also hold your money in bank-like instruments. So, for example, both of the firms can put all of your money in TCDs, just like Coast 360, except instead of with one bank, you're putting your TCDs with Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, just different banks, and they could tier them 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and so on and so forth. And that could be a first step before the stocks, bonds, etc. Or it could go straight into the stocks, bonds, cash asset allocation. Or of course you could leave it as it is, where you say, we're going to leave this much at coast. We're going to transfer the rest. We're going to see how that does. But again, you know, you're just sacrificing the return of the banks, as well as the limitations of the FDIC limitations.
And regarding that, what does the investment committee advise of that?
So the investment committee, we do have some investment committee members here with me that can certainly speak to your experience with our meetings, but the investment committee was comfortable going in immediately with a conservative to conservative moderate, but because of the market volatility, definitely leaning more towards the conservative approach. And the conservative approach, what would the asset allocation look like, guys? Jason, Marie, what would that look like for a conservative portfolio? How much in stocks?
Our current conservative portfolio right now, Mel, would be about 70% in bonds and 30% in stocks.
So before you move with the bonds or the stocks, you're going to basically get the approval of the board prior, or are we giving that approval now?
No, so the way it would work, Mr. Chair, is the IPS determines, in the IPS, this is where you're saying we're okay with stocks, we're okay with bonds, etc. And then from there, you would delegate to the investment committee. So you would basically give your blessing to the investment committee to proceed with a conservative approach. And then in 3 months' time, let's say 1 quarter's time, because we cannot just be managing this every single day, because every day the market's up and down, right? So in, let's say, 6 months' time, 3 months, 6 months, you give us a report of how things are going. And at that point in time, you say, this is what we get with a conservative portfolio. What if we were to do more aggressive? How would that look, Jason? How would that look, Marie? And then they can talk you through, and then the board can say, hey, investment committee, can you guys look into something more aggressive? So it's a place to start, not a place that you're locked into or committed to for the duration of this relationship with the brokerage firms.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, after this, I'd like to maybe touch later on the option you gave of taking it completely out of our bank and having them, you know, the advantage of moving with the managers to go ahead and put them in TCDs, if there's an advantage to that, as opposed to leaving it in Coast 360 on that portion. Okay.
I got a question, Mr. Chair.
Where's that coming from? Vice Chair?
Maybe right in.
Oh, okay, Vice Chair.
Okay. Do we are we just with this IPS, are we just strictly now limiting ourselves to other options of investments, like what we were anticipating at the beginning of the year with other investment options? Are we just limiting it now to these 2 institutions of sort of types of investments, other than in the other types of investments? You know what I mean?
That's a good
Are we
question.
restricted to that?
So the IPS, thank you for that question, sir. The IPS dictates 5 asset classes: U.S. equities, so U.S. stocks, non-U.S. stocks, non-U.S. equities, fixed income, which are bonds, cash and cash equivalents, which are like your money market funds and TCDs. And then the 5th one is alternative investments. And the alternative investments that could range from real estate investment trust to precious metals and so on and so forth. So that's the first thing. The IPS says you can do all these 5 different things, right? And can be expanded accordingly and adopted subsequently by the board, or you can make those changes today or do it later or down the road. I would certainly recommend when you get a little of the committee gets a little more seasoned to do it. this also, the IPS does not lock in the amount of money you place with these firms. The IPS locks in how they manage what you place in the firms, but how much you place in the firms is totally up to you. So if you'd like to reserve a certain portion for other projects, so there's been discussion in the past, what if Guam Ancestral wants to build a building? You know, so that's the kind of stuff you need to think about. Is this a good enough, to me, this is a good holding place to at least make your money work for you while you're making those plans. We talked about having a strategic planning meeting. This is a good holding place until you make those plans, and the board can make that determination and say, you know what, let's shift this much money out of. So again, you're not locked in. You're just subject to the, once you put it in, you're subject to what's going on, the performance of the market. So the ups and the downs. Sometimes, you know, the money is up, sometimes the money is down. But with the conservative approach, we're trying to protect the downside as much as possible. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, yes. Thank you.
So regarding development, that's in the IPS though. It's kind of in the language of the IPS. This IPS we have right now,
Right.
correct? It's not.
That's correct. Well, so this IPS says those 5 asset classes I've talked about. Alternative investments certainly can be expounded upon, right?
Okay.
But should you decide to take money out of these 2 brokerages to engage in an alternative investment, that's up to you. It's allowable under the the IPS is really a contract so that Jason and Marie don't go and buy garbage for you guys. They only buy these 5 things as dictated by the board, and as guided by the investment committee. It's not to restrict you. You guys can still decide at a later date. We'd like to take some of this out and do something different. And under the IPS, it says alternative investment. Nick, go look at if this is considered an alternative investment. You know, so that's the sort of flexibility you have.
Sorry, Mel, if I may add too, the IPS is actually very fluid, meaning that you as a board can change the IPS anytime you want. This is not a contract, set it and forget it. This is actually something that is actually ongoing as we invest. And if you want to change it, you can always change it to your
Thank you for reiterating that. Mel made that clear, and that's very positive. Thank you for that. Any other further questions? Well, I'm looking forward to moving with this. So we're gonna need a motion on the floor.
I would first like to get the recommendation of our director to adopt this IPS.
Oh, thank you, Madam Secretary, Treasurer. Yeah, I would recommend this. We've worked on this already for some time, and I know it's been over a year since we started moving in this direction, and I'm glad that we're finally here. So I would recommend to go forward with the IPS and exclude the last 2 pages, and we'll work on that one a little later. We'll let the investment committee work on pages 16 and 17, but I see that we're ready to move forward with the rest of the IPS. And then hopefully today we have time to decide on the amount. And I'll leave that up to the commissioners to make a motion to adopt the IPS as written. And you know, and basically that for now, at least the first part.
Okay, very good. Shall we move on? We need a motion unless there's does anybody have any reservations?
Commissioner Rios had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Commissioner Rios?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just thank you, Mel. I appreciate that report. I just had a question. Does this at all affect in the event? I know that there is a bill that was introduced by the governor to define beneficiaries, and I was just wondering at the time that maybe that gets through the legislature and gets settled, and we can move forward with finally making some payments to the beneficiaries. What are the timelines on that? I know that that's not going to be a month away or 6 months away. I know it's going to be sometime from now, but the last thing I want is for us to get bashed for doing something and tying up money when it's time for us to pay. And so I just wanted to know, I know that we have the flexibility, and I appreciate this. This is a really a step in the right direction. But at the same time, I also am concerned about getting these beneficiaries paid, and that we are going to use this money to do this and to grow that so that we can make bigger payments to these beneficiaries. So I understand the growth. I understand the reason for the investment, and it's great. It's a great investment. I'm just concerned about timelines of when we get to this process and it's time for us to pay. Are we going to have a problem with that? And if we are not going to have a problem with that, then of course I'm all for it 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, yeah, I don't think our hands are going to be tied with this. No, our hands aren't going to be tied with this. Like what was explained earlier, we have full flexibility. The thing with the timelines with that, the bill that was submitted to the legislature was not taken up by the 36 Guam legislature. The governor said she will resubmit the bill this time around. From what I understand from hearing from the speaker and what she said about the previous bill submitted, that it didn't satisfy her and that we'd have to work on it. But she has stated also that she's willing to work with us. So I think we'll find some middle ground there and we're moving forward on that. But I see that won't happen very quickly. We'll try to move on that as quick as we can to come up with some kind of compromise or some bill that will work for both the administration and the legislature. And that's the first part of that. Before we start committing to paying any of the beneficiaries out there, we would also, after that bill becomes law, should it become law, we would have to work then on the rules and regulations. And that's another tough job. It took us about a year or so to get this bill through. It'll probably take us about that long to get the next part through. So I see that we got at least a year to 2 years before we start moving on any of that. And right now, the way I see it, our monies at Coast 360 are earning less than 0.5%. I believe by turning it over to these two investment companies, at minimum, we'll get at least 4% or more. That's a lot more than what we're getting now in our returns. And that's if we go conservative or even ultra conservative. If we decide to go conservative to conservative moderate with our investments, then of course we'll be earning a lot more than 4%. We could probably go 5 or 6% and maybe even higher. So no, our hands aren't tied. This is a move in the right direction. Right now, we're taking more risk by leaving it at Coast 360 because although today I see them as a very stable financial institution, our funds there are only insured up to $250,000 by the FDIC. And should something ever happen to them, we would lose a whole bunch of money. And we've been criticized for not doing this in the past. So finally, we're at this level. I say we move forward.
Commissioner, also to add to Director Birch's comments on that, I think it's important to note that the investment committee made up of your fellow commissioners have made that very clear to our investment companies that we want no investments that are tied up for a longer term. What we are subject to is the value of the investments as they fluctuate over a period of time. So if, for example, in June, it's worth a certain amount, and then in July, it's worth a little less, and then in August, it's worth a little more, but the request to transfer was made in July and you're hitting it when the market is a little bit down. That was kind of that's the concern, because we're not locking it in. However, we are subject to wherever it falls in the market, but because it's relatively conservative, we are looking at locking putting much of this money in cash and bonds, 70% versus 30% stock. So there will be fluctuations, albeit a little bit less dramatic than what we're seeing in the markets today. But that's something that the investment committee has made readily apparent to the investment companies, and as they go along and steward these investments on the commission's behalf, we'll continue to monitor and update our investment advisors accordingly. I think that to me, as a commissioner, that would give me comfort if I knew that there was somebody. It's, you know, there's multiple eyes looking at this. The investment companies are aware of the general desire, the ultimate goal, and the commissioners that attend the monthly meetings are keeping them apprised of the progress of that movement of money, or the movement of any policy that affects the access to the money.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just another quick question. Is there options for foreign investment within the mix with the fund managers, the brokers?
Yes, you see non-US equities as one of the options. So non-US
They
equities include publicly traded, non-US equities, primarily publicly traded non-US companies like Samsung. And then alternative investments could kind of cover an array of also non-US
I
type
see.
of
So
stuff.
it is, they do have those options. Right. Okay, thank you. Okay, shall we move? We do need a motion on the floor to adopt the IPS.
One more question.
Madam Secretary?
Yes, I think I did bring up an earlier concern that when we are ready to disperse funds to the eligible beneficiaries of the land trust, then we will be able, the notice to liquidate the assets will be, done and accepted. And we can, I think that I was told on the meeting that could be 30 days or less, so that concern, I think is addressed on this IPS.
Okay, the option would basically be with the board to time it so that that we won't necessarily lose. We could time it so that we withdraw the money at the proper time, as opposed to just, hey, take it out and then disperse it. We could time it, and it will still be within reasonable aspects of our investment.
Yeah, and
Alright.
that decision would be made when we come up with the rules and regulations for dispersing the funds. And some of the discussions were that when we start dispersing, we're not going to just lump sum pay everybody what and break the bank. We were talking about paying it over a period of time in increments of some sort. So yeah, those are part of the discussions, and that will come up at a later time when we get to that, developing that bill that would be submitted to the legislature.
Okay, I think we're good, unless we have any further questions. Okay, so we need a motion on the floor. Director, can you clarify again the motion that's I know we need to approve the IPS. What's the second one is the
amount. The second action would be to decide an amount and how to split it, whether it be 50 to split it evenly between the two investment firms. And then, of course, later on, we would wait for the investment committee to come up with a recommendation on how we're going to on the strategy of investing.
To clarify, Director Birch, the first motion would be to adopt the IPS. The
Yes.
second motion would be to designate the amounts and how much we would be splitting or designating per firm. And then the third would be the asset allocation would be delegated to the investment committee that's not a board action. It would just be, we're going to delegate it to the investment committee
Yeah.
to make that determination, if that works for all of you.
Well, the investment committee would still need the board's final approval on their recommendation, right?
That would be unique for, well, that would rather, for GITA, we don't do it. The investment committee makes the decision.
Yeah.
They report to the GITA board, but the GITA board just says, the GITA board doesn't say, we approve the conservative approach. We've delegated it to them and they have gone forward. But what they say is, well, it's gone down, and then the board then questions, well, do you think you were conservative? Do you think you were too risky? Do you think the point of the investment committee is really to delegate a lot of the decision making such that you don't have to take everything to the board all the time. But what would come to the board is a report of performance. And then if you're unhappy with the performance, that's when you start to say, you know, that's when you start to micromanage the committee a little bit more and say, the GITA doesn't, we don't do it. You can do it, of course, you know, this is your board, you do what you want. But the GITA board, for us, what we do is we say, investment committee, you know what we want, you know how we'd like it to go, have at it, let us know how things are going. And then if we have issues with how you're running things, we're going to question you at the next board meeting. That's usually how we do it. Then
Thank
it
you,
says
Mel.
you don't have to have board action for everything.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, can we move?
Yeah, we would need a motion, Mr. Chair, to adopt the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission investment policy statement as presented.
Okay, we can deal with that first.
Yes.
Let's have a motion to adopt the IPS.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Cruz. Madam
My
Secretary.
motion is, okay, my motion is to adopt the investment policy statement as presented today for the Guam Ancestral Land Commission.
Okay, Commissioner Cruz has made the motion to adopt the IPS. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded. Okay, seconded by Commissioner Reyes. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Any nays? No nays. Director, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. Okay, now the next part would be for the amount and the split between the two investment companies before us. Currently, we have just over $15.6 million in the Coast 360 Trust. I'll leave it up to the commissioners. I know an easy split would be around 12 or 13 million to move it out. And if we feel that if you're satisfied with the performance of either of the investment firms, then we can move the rest into it. Some of those funds in there, I'd like to make clear, are from our SID account, which we use for operations. Now, I wouldn't mind that being put in also if one of the investment firms would find a way or would provide a way for us to access those funds when there's a time for us to make payments. And that happens ever so often when we need to transfer money into our checking account or into our petty cash for purchases that are necessary throughout the year. And also, of course, to reimburse Department of Administration at the end of the year for whatever funds we use from the general fund, because we operate off of our private funds. But we have an agreement with DOA that we would operate and use their money while we collect interest on ours throughout the year and then pay them off without interest. So I think that was a good deal going for us, but that happens once a year when we pay them down.
Okay.
So I
we
could say we could actually put in 12, 13, and maybe even 14 million. It'd be up to the board to make that decision. currently, I want everybody to be aware that on our time savings account, our trust share savings, we're earning about 0.25%. That's 0.25% on that. And on our 3-month jumbo shares, we reduce them to 3 months. Coast 360 is still way behind all the other banks and other financial institutions. They're only providing 0.45%. I know that that will go up dramatically in our earnings as soon as we transfer it.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mr. Rios.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. Mel, I just have a question. If just because this is kind of really new to all of us, and I know we want to do the right thing. We definitely want to grow this money more than 0.025%, but of 1%. but I think we maybe want. I don't know if I just want to. It just seems like we're comfortable, but we're not like 100% comfortable. It just seems like we're not jumping on and say, hey, I'll put a motion on the floor right away to do it, and sure, let's just go all in. But I just feel like it is a big deal, and I'm just thinking, I know Mr. Birchie said we can probably do 14 million, but are we saying that we want to invest all of that, or do we want to? Because is it easy for us to do? Let's say we did 10 million, or let's say we did 5 million, and then we got our feet wet for 6 months to a year, and then saw this being, a great thing, and it worked. But who knows what next year will bring? But at least we did something, and we didn't just do this. Because for me, I mean, I know how hard this is difficult. We're making a decision with money that I feel should go to these landowners right at the time when it's ready. But we want to also not lose any of this money to what might happen. So I'm just saying, if we did 5 million or 10 million now, and we in 6 months, it went to 4% or whatever, and then we said, okay, you know what, we should have done 14 million. But instead we did 10 million, but we still grew our 10 million by 4%. Maybe then we make a quick change. Is it that simple, or does it just come to us, to the board, to decide to increase it and we have every opportunity to do this during a board meeting? Is it that simple to do, Mr. Birch? Is it that simple to increase?
Yeah, we could always increase it. I understand where you're coming in, being very careful. You could agree to, like, for example, 10 million split evenly between the two firms, see how they perform and compare which ones. And then later on decide to up it some more with the company or the firm that you're more satisfied with, and keep the rest held back. I do know, remember, we can't forget that we also have an agreement with Smithbridge for the mitigation of the environmental issues down at Polaris Point. Just the plan for that would probably cost us 50,000. And there's probably depending on what comes out from their studies of whether the total amount of mitigation might cost us about $1 million. So we like to make sure that we have those funds available when that time comes up. And that will be coming up hopefully rather quickly, sometime this year, I hope. So yes, I see your point. You don't have to go in with 14, 12, or 13. You could go in with amount that's less. And then at the next meeting, if you're happy with the performance, increase it. We could hold that off, but at least to get our feet wet and get started, and so that you can see how much more we can earn. And what I do know, I believe that at minimum, we'll be earning at least 4%, maybe 4.5% at minimum. Right now, the best we're doing is 0.45%. Extremely low, extremely underperforming. So that's why I'm leaving up to the commissioners, to make that decision. But I'm willing to go up easy up to 12 million and cautiously 13 or 14. But that's your decision to make. And I trust that these two firms, their performance with GITA has been great. They've been earning, I think, Mel, you said on the average overall about 8%.
I did want to kind of give a few, I wanted to, address, I think really the underlying thing that we're trying to address here is this is something brand new. And this is something we're asking your commission. You are the group of commissioners that is deciding to do something different than what has been done in the last, decade or so. And you're
Actually,
doing this
20 years.
in 20 years, right? And you're doing this because you're concerned, because even though we're not losing, we're losing via purchasing power. Look at the inflation around us. You can't pay the same number of employees with this money than you could 20 years ago with the same amount of money, right? So you are, so now in the shifting of the money, the first question we want to ask ourselves is, number one, are these two firms reputable? Or are they a bunch of, are these two reputable firms that have gone through the government procurement processes and all of that did we do our due diligence in selecting the investment advisors? And the answer to that is yes. These are two investment firms that were selected among competitors in a competitive bid solicitation, right? So the first thing is the reputation of the firms, and these guys locally, all of these guys are Guam grown, right here. And we've all known them and been familiar with them for many years, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, I'm comfortable that you're a good firm. I'm comfortable that you guys aren't a bunch of, crooks or scammers, but now I'm making the decision to move money from one to the next, and so where do I go with this? And I know there's a possibility I need to access my money. There's a possibility that the market could do crazy things, and then I have to answer to this. As a commissioner, I have to answer. Ultimately, the responsibility is mine to answer to our performance. And that's why the investment policy statement helps with those parameters to say, you can't go color too far outside the lines. We're going to stay, and this is our roadmap. This is what we're going to follow. As Director Birch said, if past performance is an indication of future performance, the past performance with these investment firms is that a conservative approach will yield around 4%. Okay, so what does that mean? That means some years you're going to be up at 6 or 7, and some years you're going to be down at 0 or -1. But when you're at -1 or -2, somebody who's aggressive will be down -15. Am I comfortable with the approach that I've decided to take, the conservative approach, right? And so that's kind of the next thing. But then you add on to that, well, I have certain cash flow needs now, right? I want to do, in 1 year I have to pay DOA, and in 1 year I have to access my money for the following. And that's when the investment committee, again, can make clear so between Director Birch, the investment committee, and our investment advisors, as a commissioner, you are delegating it to them to say, you guys figure out your liquidity needs. So how much money you need in the next year, and what can you guys do with this? How much money you don't need that we can afford to watch and see how the market performs. And then from there, the progress reports. And then with the progress reports, just about every quarter. So what we do at GITA is every 3 months. The quarterly progress reports are good. And then you can get a sense of am I comfortable? Now, if you want to go all in and say we want to put the whole 15 million in, take it out of the bank and put it in, you can certainly do that, because there's an array of investments at both places that are protected just like a bank. There's TCDs, there's money market funds, treasury bills and bonds, and treasury funds that are just function just like cash. So if you needed something liquid, we could say we are conservative, but out of that conservative portfolio, we need $3 million available at a moment's notice in case we have to take care of these emergency issues, right? So those are all things that can be made clear. And then, as Director Birch said, you could start off with 5 or 10 or 14, as he had mentioned, 14, and then see how things go, see how comfortable you are with the development. But also, we'll give you guys 14 million, but with the disclaimer that we need a certain amount liquid that we will determine. Director Birch will say 14 million, subject to whatever Director Birch says we need liquid, and immediately at a moment's notice without penalty, loss, or anything along those lines. And then that's kind of where I go from there. And I think that, saying that I caution you on comparing one firm to the other, because oftentimes if one firm is performing better upside than the other, then if the market were to turn around tomorrow, that same firm would be losing more because they're a little more risk, more return. Always risk and return are what is it? Are they more risk, more return, right? They're correlated like that, right? And you don't want a situation where you're not comparing apples to apples, right? So I wouldn't necessarily chase performance here. All I would do is, all I would say is, am I comfortable that my money is as protected as it is at the bank, but with these two firms? And if the answer to that is yes, I'm comfortable with that. Okay, am I comfortable that these two firms have options, that I have liquid access to my money? Yes, I'm comfortable with that. Okay, this is how much I'm comfortable with giving them to manage. That's kind of how I mean, and like I said, it's, the amounts is, you can change it next month. You say we start off with a 10 and then next month we do 11, and then, you can do whatever.
Very good. I like to note also that throughout the years, once we had significant funds in the account, we did get advice and criticisms of just leaving it in the bank throughout the years. And so what did that actually mean? I think this what we're doing right now handles that criticism. So otherwise, why would, and we've got that from the legislature, we've got it from different different entities about just leaving that kind of money in the bank. I think this takes care of that dilemma.
Just a comment.
Even though, of course, yes, Vice Chair.
Yeah, it's just the point that, when we were approached by Purestone, we were very adamant about that too, or originally like hesitant as well. And even if they said that they asked for 1 million or 2 million, but now we're going for 14 million. So, that was an opportunity as well. So I'm just seeing the where's the parity here, and that was a number 5 listing that it's an outside investment that we could have grabbed on too. And so we need to be careful too as well. We're just going in big time, 14 million, And when we were approached by Purestone, even if in a 1.5 that they asked that we could try out, we didn't take that opportunity. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, we're noted. We're both in the same boat with that. But I think now with this IPS, the opportunities for that is still there. If we're approached with a significant opportunity again, we can still move with it. I'd like to note also our legal counsel said we could RFP that particular opportunity. Of course, we didn't do it, but the option is still there. But noted, Vice Chair, we're on the same boat. I agree. But I think this is in my opinion, this is a good move to. I'm just worried about keeping it that amount of money in the bank. I'm fine with 10, 12. I'm fine with 14. Giving it to the 2. I'm good with it. And we're going conservative, at least at this stage of the game.
Conservative.
Okay, so can we have a motion on the floor with the amount? And yes, we do need to keep maybe a little bit in there for liquid, I guess is the term, for things the director mentioned about the Smith Bridge situation, and I guess with our SIT account, if that does go to them, I guess that will be in a different account, Director, or handled differently.
It would be handled as cash or liquid. And I believe even at that, we'll still get more returns on our investment than what we're getting currently at Coast 360, because on those 2 accounts that we set aside at Coast, we have like 1.5 million in the trust share. We're getting 0.25% interest on that. And also the SIT account, we have about just short of 700,000. That too, we're getting only 0.25%. So whatever, if we keep it liquid with either of these firms, we could even go in further with the understanding that we would need those funds very shortly. But, you know, whether we leave it, because I know we're going to use them soon, one for the mitigation issue of Polaris, and then of course for operations, you know, that would be something we'd have to clarify, but I'll leave it up to the commissioners to decide the amount. I can see
Yeah.
the vice chair's concern about
Mis-
starting off at a high amount or low amount, and that's the same concern that Commissioner Rios had. I'm just saying that I trust the two firms, and even Mel Mendola, she mentioned too that they've proven themselves, and I see that if we go with them, whatever way we're going to go, I see that we will be getting more returns or a higher rate of interest on our returns just by going with these folks than leaving it at Coast 360.
Eli.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes, and we're diversifying. That's the thing about it. We're
Yes.
diversifying the investments. I'm sorry, Vice Chair, just real quick. I think this
ahead.
Wesling, you had Mr. Wesling, real quick.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for their time and their efforts. Number one, in providing the written reports. It certainly has helped me to be a little more comfortable in moving forward with, as you pointed out, Chairman, diversifying the investments with the ultimate goal of increasing, while at the same time safeguarding and managing well the really the funds that are here for our displaced owners, in which we have that fiduciary trust. Director Mendiola, I really appreciate you taking the time to explain in a nutshell everything that was written, and it certainly made me feel a little more comfortable. At the same time, and also those of you commissioners who have contributed to this discussion, you all raised very good points and questions in which I too had questions, the same questions in the back of my mind. So thank you very much for voicing them, and for our advisors here who answered them well. At the same time, I am, as it's been said here, this is all new ground for us, and I believe we've everything that's been put together is of the highest integrity, and that we are going to be working with a very reputable financial management company here, and we have Gita looking over us as well. And then we also have our investment committee, also advisory committee within the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission. Having said that, I am much more comfortable with what I initially was going to recommend, that we move as far as funds. But at the same time, there is still that conservative part of me that wants to also hold back. And as it was said earlier, that what we're getting into seems to be very fluid, and but we can make changes easily, that we're not locked in to for long periods of times once we make a decision. So my thoughts at this point is I would support a move of $10 million at this time. At first I was going to say 5, but after listening to everybody, you've all managed to at least get me to come up 100% on what I'm willing to recommend. And so I'd really like to hear from our commissioners before we make a motion as to what your comfort levels are, and then make a motion, based on that, as to, because I'd like to hear what everybody has to say. And so I would just like to say for the record right now that I am comfortable with moving 10 million of the funds, and to distribute it 50-50 between the two financial companies, investment companies that we will be working with. So thank you very much for the time to speak, and then I'd like to hear what each of my commissioners would like to recommend as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wesley. So she wants to hear about our thoughts. So by the way, Vice Chair, you had your hands up. Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, you're on mute. You're still on mute, Vice Chair.
There you go. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there, I have a question for, maybe, Commissioner Cruz. I would like to ask your opinion. What would you be comfortable with?
Commissioner Cruz, you're on mute.
I was going to suggest the same amount as Commissioner Westling. Because like she said, there was a lot, this firms are reputable. And we can, I mean, we can closely, check their progress on, and we can do that. It doesn't have to be quarterly, it could be monthly, so. So, and I'm also comfortable that we are able to make changes when we feel that changes are needed. So, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. What about you?
I just wanted to hear, up front where your position was, because you were very reluctant at the other opportunities to even invest 1 million.
Well, with
And,
this firm, I've sat with the committee and they have thoroughly explained the investment and how it's being monitored. So they're not new, they're on island, and we can always look. Whenever you want to look at the record, it's available, I'm sure. So, and they can't run away too far. Well, anyway.
They gave that same opportunity. They said they work together the same with Raymond James and other investment institutions.
Okay.
That was the same thing.
Anyway,
It's just that I'm
more
curious.
involved with this when you guys selected me to be one of the members when the Central Land, so reluctantly, but I did. I attended a few of the meetings. There's a few of us that went through twice on this IPS, and our concerns were addressed. So thank you.
All right.
Okay, very good. Yep, you can see there's still the hesitancy with this, with everyone. We know that there's a lot of work that went into it, and the integrity of the two brokers are intact. We got Gita involved because basically that's what we needed. We needed the proper direction and advice, and we'd like to thank Gita for that. Mel, thank you. For me, if we didn't get this criticism throughout the years, I think I would have just been okay with just leaving it in the banks. But then I see the risks involved in it, and we're only protected up to 250,000. And basically, right now I'm for the maximum, getting it out and putting it in the broker's hands. But notwithstanding what the director had brought up with regard to the SID account and what we need to be with liquidity to have that in hand as needed. That's where I'm coming from, but I yield to the board the decision of how the board wants to move it. Director, I think.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think we would need a motion and, for the amount. And then we could have discussion. I know that Mel is she has a commitment, and I know we kept her beyond that. I know she's interested to see how far we're going to go, but I think we're all on the same page. I know we're all cautious of how far we're going to move on this thing. But it's a decision that you commissioners are going to have to make. I'm in support of it, like I said earlier, and I believe, Mr. Chair, you're in support of it. And we
Yes.
have a couple of commissioners who are willing to go as far as 10 million at this point. I think it's time now that we would have a motion and then we move forward.
Okay,
Commissioner Westling has her hand up.
okay, Commissioner Wesson.
I'm sorry. I'd still like to hear from our two commissioners that are here, the Vice Chair and Commissioner Rios, as to what I asked earlier as far as what your comfort levels are as far as investment. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with Commissioner Rios.
Thank you, Commissioner. Like I said earlier, I think I addressed my concerns as far as the timelines on when the funds would be needed for any particular case, and putting away a few $1 million in the event of what might happen at the PD property is a good thing. It looks like $10 million will probably, with 4%, would almost cover our operational cost at $400,000 and change. So this really is a good thing, I think. But I would like to hear I would like to hear what our attorney thinks about this. just to get his 2 cents on that, I would be greatly appreciated. But I'm comfortable with 10 million as well. Thank you.
Before we move to our legal counsel, then let's get with our Vice Chair. Vice Chair, I'm with you. We should have invested in Purestone. I'm with you.
No, it's all right. No,
We
I'm
should've.
just saying that, we missed the boat, but anyhow, I'm just saying that, like an all-out thing, I'm thinking, at least go half, that's my side, but all three of you are all on 10. That's your choice, but, for now, I would consider half, at least we have half, the other half, but like you said, we can move it little at a time, but, I don't think 7 million is not a bad number. Let's try it out, but it's up to you guys, with that number 10, but, we'll see. After Nick advises us on this, any comment on that?
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Juice Mossy. Okay,
From,
Nick.
Yeah, I apologize. My connection is a little laggy, so if you can't hear me on anything, just ask me to repeat it. My view on it is that it's a much. I like this investment because one, it goes through the RFP process and it's in the exit part of it, so legal compliance is good there. But more importantly, I think, is that it's the diversification of the portfolio. We're not putting all our eggs in one particular basket, and what that does is it's much easier to defend in case of any sort of beneficiary lawsuit for mishandling of funds or anything like that. You can show that all efforts were made to defend that portfolio and make it as risk, minimize the risk involved. So I'm in favor of this.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Okay,
A $10 million risk. All right. I would like you all to say that. 10 million. For the record.
but it is diversified, correct? It's not all in one basket, correct?
That's why we're moving with these two investment firms, is because yes, the diversification and actually it's safer than leaving it in one financial institution. It'll be spread out. So I agree with Nick, not all our eggs in one basket. So if you drop the basket, they won't all crack at one time.
But even within those two institutions, it's still diversified.
Yes, even within that, yes.
Yeah. So the investments that we do it with, that we will approve on, will be
And-
diversified.
Right, and we're not necessarily locked in. We could always make changes, but it means the board will have to meet. But it does earn a lot more in our returns than we currently have at Coast 360. But it is a decision for the board, and I support it. Mel, of course, have supported, even our legal counsel, but the vote is with the commissioners.
Well, we can always, if we move with half, we can always, in a brief time, just transfer the other funds if to alleviate the concerns of our vice chair.
No,
Although
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Vice
no,
Chair.
I'm leaving it up to you guys. I'm already, 3 or 4 of you guys are equal at 10. I just wanted to share my
oh, okay,
number, so
okay.
you can go
I was
ahead with
just,
your number. As long as it
Okay.
came out, from you guys.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
we're
right.
good to go then. Can we get a motion on the floor? Commissioner Westing?
Thank you. I realize that we do not have present with us today 2 of our commissioners, Commissioner Camacho and Commissioner Orlino. And though we do have a quorum, okay, in the interest of it, I'm sorry. And though I've said that, I would support a move of $10 million to be distributed 50-50 between the 2 companies and invested in conservative investments at this time. I will make a motion here that we move, trying to balance what all of our commissioners are most comfortable with, of moving $8 million from our funds to be split 50-50, 4 million each into each investment company, with the funds to be invested, as we said earlier, in conservative investments at this time.
A very good motion on the floor to approve $8 million to the two firms in equal portions, 4 million each. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Rios. All in favor? Aye.
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 I,
Any nays? Any nays? No nays. Director, motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'll work it out with Gita and the firms to start the transfer of $8 million, 50-50 split between the 2 firms at conservative investments. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gita, and thank you too to the two firms.
Yes, to
Masi, and for Melanie, thank you for the due diligence and the work done by Gita and everybody involved. Sujus Masi.
thank you. This has been a
Thank
big
you.
step for Ancestral Lands. It's our first. And
Awesome.
hopefully we go further again soon.
And we get
Thank
the
you,
rest
everyone.
out because I'm weary of the banks. Definitely. Okay,
Okay.
let's move down to the approval of minutes. Number 3.
Mr. Director,
Yes. Kathy?
Mr. Burke, if I'm not mistaken, you're gonna need a resolution for the bank.
Okay, we'll need a resolution.
Yes, sir, for the bank.
Oh, to
withdraw
transfer the
$8 million.
funds.
Yes, sir.
Would you have to
Okay,
prepare the resolution?
No, I
Yes, sir.
didn't. I didn't know the
Mr.
amounts
Burke said that.
or the condition. Normally, I would prepare the resolutions, I or our legal Nick Tuft. Perhaps we could prepare the resolution and have a special meeting for the resolution.
Yes.
And we'll schedule a special meeting to pass the resolution for
Yes.
2 weeks from today.
Very good.
Kathy, are there any holidays in between now and 2 weeks from now. That'll be the second Wednesday of January.
That will be I'm sorry, the holiday is Martin Luther King. Do we honor that?
Yeah, we,
We do.
does Gulf
Stand
Guam
by.
honor Martin Luther King? Well,
So you should do that.
all that means is that we just
Yeah,
have to
yeah. Yeah,
push up it's a special meeting, so the agenda will be simple. And all we
Yes,
have to do is advertise that and make sure it comes out early.
yes, sir.
So the meeting will be Wednesday, January 25th at 2:30
Yes.
PM,
Yes,
a
sir.
special meeting
Yes, sir.
specifically for the resolution to transfer the funds. And I'll work out the
Correct.
details with investment firms and with Gita on any specifics that would be needed in that resolution.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that all right for that special meeting for the board, for the commissioners?
good.
Fine
Mr.
with
Chair?
me.
Okay,
What's the date again? I'm sorry.
it'll be January 25th at 2:30
I'm fine.
PM.
Okay, I'm fine with it.
I have a question.
Yes,
Um,
Mr. Cruz?
if we were to do a recess because, the investment amount is not done and we would like to finalize it, is there any way that we can bypass the notification on the PDN? And if anybody wants to
Oh.
find out about our meeting, we just let them know it's continued to the next, whenever it's scheduled. So is there a problem with that? Because we used to do that a long time ago. We've done a number of recess.
right. With the recess, I don't think there's an issue, but perhaps Nick can respond to that. It's, if there've been any changes in the open government law that restricts that. But I do
see.
know other agencies do go into recess, and that means the meeting is simply carried on to the next day
Yeah.
or whatever date is
Right,
set up.
yeah.
Now, let's
Right.
continue, let's keep it as a special meeting, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
That
I
way
agree.
it's only one thing on the agenda, and then we will just agree and finalize everything on that day. The 25th
Okay.
is a good day. Let's
25th?
put it that way. Yeah.
But Commissioner Cruz, thanks for bringing up that we can do that, reminding us that we can definitely do that. There's times I think we could. But
Yeah.
if we did continue it with, that
Yeah.
would be considered
Yeah.
one meeting,
Yes.
Yeah.
not two meetings, right?
Not
Yeah,
two.
Commissioner Cruz
Yeah.
would not get her stipend pay.
Yeah, or it'll still be considered one meeting.
That's true.
Okay,
That's true.
okay, special meeting it is.
Okay. So I'll have the resolution ready by then. It shouldn't take me long to crank one out. I just don't have one because we were unaware of what conditions you would place on this.
Okay.
But now we are aware that it is conservative and not ultra conservative or moderate or aggressive. So those were key things that we would need to know. Okay,
Okay.
so is that it? Then I guess we're moving into the regular set of the order of the agenda, which is back to the
Yes.
minutes. Okay,
Back to
then
the
I
minutes.
thank Jason and BGIS, Mari and who else? Ali for being here. And of course, Mel, I think Mel took off already. She had something somewhere else to go. Thank you very much. I'll be in contact with you guys soon.
Thank you.
You.
Okay, so we're on the minutes.
Are we still meeting? Hey, you guys can continue without me, man. I have things to do before it gets.
Waiting for
I have
approval
to-
of the minutes.
Oh yeah, really? We're still at that, eh? I moved to
We're in
approve
the-
subject to. I moved to approve subject to corrections.
Okay, motion on the floor to approve the minutes.
I
Motion on
second
the
that
floor
motion.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Wessling. All in favor? Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any nays? I see no nays, Director. Motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, let's move down to Director, do you want to do your report or shall we move anything up further? Because it doesn't look like we're going to meet the timeline here. We still have about an hour or less.
Yes, I see we have Attorney Bischoff here online. He's aware that this is coming up.
Shall we
And,
move that up? Shall we move that
Well,
up?
that would be tied to in my report.
Okay, so do your report.
If I
and
could-
then we'll-
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
if I could intervene there.
Okay, and yes,
I'm gonna request a continuance on that legal counsel litigation update. I've been off island for the last 16 days or so due to a death in the family. So I have not had time to either contact former Deputy AG Canto or to go through the files, which are pretty voluminous. There's several crates of files on this matter. So if I could just have this postponed until the next meeting so I can respond.
No, that's fine with me. I believe in due process and fairness. Director Birch, I sent you a packet a couple of days ago. Were you able to distribute that to the commissioners? And could you
Yes,
please send a copy of that
yes,
to Nick?
yes. I'm not sure if Nick got it. I wasn't aware if he was back today. I knew he should have been back on today, but we haven't had time to discuss it. So yes, Nick is correct. He's not prepared for any updates on this.
Yeah, I did receive the packet and I was able to kind of sprint through it and saw that there were some documents in there that'll help me out and will save me some time, but there's a lot more that I still need to go through.
Well, on that, Director Birch, did you, I was asking you a few weeks ago to ask these guys to go through the files before the change in AG administrations and send, produce anything that they say could support their assertions. Were you able to ask them that?
I did, but I did not get a response. Of course, Nick has been off island. He had a family emergency. And Deputy Attorney General Canto along that line did not respond, but my understanding he has moved now to the Port Authority of Guam. So
I think I'd be happy to have him invited to the next meeting, the next time this is going to be discussed.
well, we could attempt to do so. But
sorry to
I
have
do
to-
believe Nick is correct. Nick does need more time to prepare, and I'm willing to forego that part of my report. That means my report's going to be compressed, but the commissioners, Mr. Chair, the commissioners, I believe, have seen the report and they can go over it on their own. And maybe we could bring this up again at a later time. And I'll just leave that on the side because I know that's real. I know that everyone wants to understand and know what's going on. And Nick too, of course, he did give us somewhat of an update last time.
Okay, Mr. Bishop seems to be okay with the
due
postponing it.
process of allowing, yes.
Who are you saying to try to appear? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Well, I was mentioning maybe invite Mr. Canto. He's the one that signed this confidential settlement agreement, making up what I think is a completely false pretense about a conflict. And he signed this with his brother-in-law's law office. I mean, this whole thing stinks.
Okay, let's see what we can do, but you're okay with it. I guess we're gonna have to. You're
I
okay
want to
with
give them a
postponing?
fair chance to respond, to say what they have to say, of course.
Okay.
I have
So
a question,
we're gonna-
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
But I want just from my perspective right now, Mr. Bishop, do we have any timeline of that is urgent that you're
I
trying
would
to
say,
meet?
I would say, since this was signed in the summer of 2020, we need to get all the facts ascertained in the next couple of months because there could be a 3-year statute of limitations up July of this year.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that information.
Thank you for that. Okay, so Nick, we okay for the next meeting?
Yeah, I should be able to compile something before the next meeting.
Okay, when I say next meeting, I'm not talking about the special meeting, right? I'm talking about the next.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna move to postpone this this issue on where are we at here on because we were
Yeah,
gonna bring it up.
That would be the legal counsel updates under old business, and
Yeah,
also
under-
a part of
yeah.
my report will be,
Okay.
because that includes all the documents Attorney Bishop had sent us. And
Okay.
basically then my report will be basically just a very short one about the independent audit services, that it's already in process, the contract, which at the BBMR waiting for their signature. And after that, it'll go to the Attorney General's office for their review and signature, and then to the governor's office. And until then, we cannot really move on the independent audit that Ernst & Young has been selected to work on for us until we actually have a contract in hand, because to do so would probably be in violation of GovGuam procurement law to move forward with something where we have no contract to do so. So it's in process in getting signatures right now. It's past the OPA, past our office, and also with Ernst & Young, they've signed off. It's just a matter now of checking it for funding sources at BBMR, and then proper form at the AG's office, then the governor's signature, which would be the final. And that's where I'm at with that. But with the rest of my report, I'll just I'll forego that, because I believe, yeah, Nick just went through a extremely troubling time and he didn't have time to prepare for this.
Yes.
And Attorney Bishop is willing to wait and give him his opportunity. We do have until, he said, July of this year before the statute of limitations runs.
Okay. Nick, heartfelt condolences to you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
I advise the board to review the documents, the pertinent documents that that's to the issue we have regarding this case. So I would like to remind the board to at least review what the director has sent and whatever other documents we have for the next meeting. Vice Chair, your hands with it?
Yeah, just a quick question. This question is to Bill and Nick. Are we in a situation, as we could consider it, being in a solidarity type of approach within this subject matter, working together, so to speak, to work out this, to settle this matter? Because I see Bill has a great interest in settling this. So Nick, it appears that we are working all in solidarity. Am I correct?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that comment.
Okay. Yep. There's definitely some uncomfortable situations with the report that it was settled, for sure. And even our legal counsel portrayed to the board, you know, certain that he was uncomfortable with certain things. So we'll get to the bottom of it. And yep, we're the same with us, the same with me. We, in my opinion, and just of now, in my personal opinion, we've been involved in this case from the very beginning. We are the plaintiffs in the case. So, okay, well, let's not discuss any further.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
We'll move on to the next. Thank you for showing up, Mr. Bishop, Sujus Masi.
Okay, thank you. I'll go real quick.
Okay,
Está.
let's move on to. Let's move on.
Gita.
I know we missed out on Gita's, shall we go ahead with Gita's report? Gita?
Tony?
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair. All the
Hopefully we can
committee,
skim through it real quick.
sure. GALC
Okay.
Director Birch and your staff. My name's Tony Ariola, representing Gita, and with me today is Megan,
Oh,
Program Coordinator. Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman.
hey, Tony,
Sure.
before you begin, did you sign your report?
Yes, we did.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you. Well done, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you to Vice Chair Laguardia. Okay, the following is a progress report about data January 9. I'm presenting the Gita Monthly Progress Report. The following is a progress report on Gita's efforts to manage the land bank trust properties as required by Section 1 of the MOU between Gita and the GALC Land Bank Trust. First on the list is Weddingale Junction, that's Northern Market. They pay a monthly rent of $27,854.51 with an outstanding balance as of January 9 of $1,534,451.19. Their total deferred, undeferred, and interest as of November 1 is $1,596,596.69. We're also pending Northern Market's written proposal submission for their deferred, undeferred, and interest monthly payments due and the projected lease revenues that will be provided to the GALC Commission for review and approval. I've got an update from their general counsel, Ms. Jennifer Calvo, earlier today, and she said that they have gotten a verbal commitment for them trying to get that construction loan. And she's putting everything together, and by the next upcoming board meeting in February, she would have that written official commitment letter as well as the written proposal regarding their arrears of their deferred, undeferred, and their interest and their payment. And I was also given some information that Community First, who is assisting them in obtaining a construction loan with them, is going to be one of their anchor tenants with the commercial building that they're working on. Next one on the list is the Apple Harbor Parcel 1, which is a quick space. Their monthly rent is $3,989.13. And their last payment was received December 12, 2022 in the amount of $3,989.13. Next one is Matson, Apple Harbor Reservation F12, monthly rent of $27,733, an outstanding balance of $0. Last payment received on January 3rd in the amount of $27,733. Lot Apple Harbor Reservation F12 for Trans Still, their monthly rent of $500. Their outstanding balance is $9,000. They're on a month-to-month tenancy, and their payment plan from May 2021 to present. Last payment received on December 28, 2022 in the amount of $600. Tengisan, Route 3 Dedado, AT&T, their monthly rent of $22,939.42 with $0 outstanding balance. And their last payment received January 3rd, 2022 of $22,939.42. F12 Polaris Point, Smith Bridge, their monthly rent of $8,800, outstanding balance is $0. And their last payment was received December 16, 2022 of $8,800. Okay, lot 101-55-1, that's the Farmers Cooperative Association of Guam. Their annual rent for calendar year 2021 of an outstanding balance of $4,822.32. The CY 2021 financial statement was submitted via email by farmers on January 3rd, And then they made a revision on their statement, and it was submitted via hand delivery to GIDA on January 6, 2023, and also hand delivered to Guam Ancestral on January 9, 2023. Their annual gross income for CY 2021 reflects the amount of $241,066.23. I've also made that calculation of that amount times the 2% of gross income for CY 2021, and their amount due for their annual payment is $4,821.32 plus their $1 per annum fee, which in total will be $4,822.32 of the amount due. Fees and properties, the Guam Environmental Protection Agency, their monthly rent of $8,000, their outstanding balance as of January 9, 2023 is $240,000. Last payment made on September 27, 2022 in the amount of $8,000. You know, I also got word that, or actually I made this update status for their payments to be made. Like I said, they're just waiting for federal funds. And once they receive that, they will normally pay a lump sum payment. So that's still in the works. Moving on down to Department of Public Health and Social Services, that's the WIC building. Their monthly rent of $8,400 with an outstanding balance as of January 9 of $37,499.35. And their last payment received December 16, 2022 in the amount of $16,800. Moving down to the other items on the list, the investment committee, yeah, that discussion was already made earlier. Nothing to report on that one. And now the F-12 Polaris mitigation plan. Yeah, the latest that I got is they're still pending the mitigation plan, scope of work and budget from Smithbridge. No updated status on that. And that concludes my report. And yes, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
So Jules Massey, Tony, any questions for Tony? I do see that they owe us for 2021, and then it'll probably be is it a similar, would probably most likely be similar amount in May?
Possible, Mr. Chairman, depending on what revenues we collected from January 2022 all the way to December 31, 2022. Dependent on that, on the revenue that they made for 2022. Yeah, so I can't really say if it's going to be an approximate.
Okay.
Approximate,
Thank you, Tony. Any questions for Guido? Buenas, Vice Chair. Any questions for Tony?
Yeah. What was the co-ops? The co-ops outstanding again? 4,000 sub?
Yeah.
$4,822.32, Vice Chairman.
And that's for
Vice Chair, I'd like to remind the board that Mara just uploaded their financial statement, and I just downloaded it this morning.
Okay.
Just so the board would know, she apologized that it wasn't included in the packet, but she uploaded it, I think, yesterday or today. Continue, Vice Chair.
Yeah, that amount, the 4,000 was from what year? 2021?
2021. 2021.
Yes, that's correct.
Till now. Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
So I just want to add that what's pending now is the CY 2022, and that annual payment will be due in May of this year, May 2023.
For the amount of?
We wouldn't know that because we are pending the financial statements for
Yeah.
2020.
Okay.
2022
you're right.
just, yeah,
Based on their generated income for that duration of time. Okay, thank you.
correct. One more thing, may I add? The Farmers Co-op chairman is requesting if he can be in attendance for the upcoming next board meeting, I believe in February. And then we can get probably confirmation on that, and I'll go ahead and notify them.
Okay, Director, let's have them included in the next meeting.
Okay,
February?
yes, and I guess because they'll be addressing you, that'll be under new business at the next meeting
Yes.
for the Farmers Co-op. Okay,
Tony? Mr. Chair?
Yes, Vice Chair.
Did they indicate that in writing, the request? Did that?
Yes,
No.
yes, they did. We did get that. We did get it.
Or did we? Okay, I'm trying to recall. Okay, yes, we did, yes.
And what was what did it indicate in the letter, Mr. Chair? Was there?
They were trying to make it for this meeting, but we couldn't include them. They didn't make the timeline. So I told Kathy to see if they're to include them for the next meeting, which will be in February. Yeah.
All right. And Tony, one more. What about the Smith Bridge matter? Where are we at on that again?
The latest that I got is they're working with one of the environmental services, which is PCR Environmental. Smithbridge is working on that, and according to Mr. Dan Swafey, the consultant for Smithbridge, it's just taking a while, and hopefully you'll have some kind of report by the next upcoming February board meeting. Yeah, but they're working diligently to get that mitigation plan scope of work with PCR Environmental.
All right.
There's
Thank you.
there's a few processes that they're just going through and on trying to finalize.
Okay.
But but we're on track with that, right, Tony? We're on track.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
There's no like unusual delays or anything. Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair, for following up with that. Any other questions for him, Vice Chair?
No questions, Tony. Thank you for your report. Good job.
Tony, I just got one regarding Weddingill.
Mhm.
That can you just remind the board when was that? When was their time again to make that payment?
Oh, I also wanted to mention that they, during our November meeting, Northern Market had verbally proposed that they are going to make a payment for November and December. And their payment commenced on November 1. So they made
Right.
their November, December 22 payments, and it has been remitted. And that last payment for December was received on January 4th, 2023. So they kept up with that verbal proposal.
How much was it?
27,000.
They made two payments of 27,000 something, the way I see it,
Right.
right?
And it equates 2 months payment, 27,854.51. So they made a payment total of $55,709.02 to be exact.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
we're also waiting upon the 500,000 that day, right? What was it?
I-
Right.
I think it's a
right,
million.
Luisa?
I think
Right.
I think it's a million.
A million,
I think
right?
it's a million.
it was $1 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Westling has her hand up.
Mr. Wessing?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chairman Lawanya, to bring that up, and Director Birch. So they made two payments, but remember, those are not rent payments. Those are going to be applied first to late fees and interest. And so the way that it's written on the report, Tony, I'm sorry, when you put November, December 22 payments have been remitted, I think it needs to be clarified that those are not payments for those months. I mean, they made payments during those months, but those get applied to first fees, then interest, then principal. And like I said, as far as I'm concerned, they're still behind the ball on what they said that they would do.
Correct.
Well, was it because that 1 million that they were the scheduled payment? I know when was it? It was supposed to be what, February or March or January, February, March? I forgot. Was that going to cover everything up until that part? Or I forget.
They verbally proposed that when they obtain the construction loan by February 2023, they're going to pay $1 million.
Oh yeah.
For the deferred, undeferred, and interest of balance due. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so can you just make the adjustment according to what Commissioner Wessling is saying per the description of those payments, those two payments?
Sure.
If that's needed.
We'll go ahead and revise that.
Yeah. Also, Mr. Chair, one more thing.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
Yeah. And in that, Tony, in that letter, indicate that those two payments would fall under that particular as late fees, and that request for an update on the construction loan matter.
Okay.
Where are we at on that? Because that's when we're going to get our big payment, once they get that construction loan approved, right?
That's correct, Mr. Vice Chair. Like I said, I got the latest information from Jennifer Colville that they got a verbal commitment in obtaining the loan. So they're going to get that commitment letter and the proposal by the upcoming February board meeting.
Okay.
Is that meeting before or after their verbal timeline with regard to that deposit of that million?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Chairman?
I'm wondering if the the verbal payment, the verbal indication of the payment, you said February something, right? Our board meeting, that's their timeline that they gave. Is that before or after our meeting? So I just think we need to probably wait until that their timeline is comes to pass, and then bring it up to them. Or as the Vice Chair said, was indicating to follow up prior. Would that, I don't know if that's would that be a proper, considering they were going to do it after?
I'll follow up with them, and I'll follow up with Jennifer.
Also, you'll follow up.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll follow up with them.
Yeah, the main point, right, Mr. Chair, we're trying to get at is how soon is the electronic transfer is going to take an effect into us, into our account, as soon as they did that verbal approval, because, banking institutions have to go through their processes. So what we want to know is how soon are we going to get that in our accounts? That's because I recall December was the last time, right? Commissioner Luisa, I think it was supposed to be December. I'm not sure. I forgot.
No, I know it was after December. I know for sure. I just didn't know the timeline. I know it was after. So Tony, just follow up then and just say it was discussed in this last meeting regarding that. Just inform them, tag them, or poke them and let them know that it was brought up in this last meeting. Okay, any further questions? No further questions? None? Tony, si Jules Masi, Gita, thank you.
Masi, Tony.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
for
Chair.
your report.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wait, we do have Commissioner Rios has his hands up. Commissioner Rios?
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying goodbye to Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Oh, okay.
Should have went like this. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Good job, Tony. Good job.
Yeah, Tony, good job, Tony.
Thank you all.
Okay, now, where are we at? I guess we're down to, the new business. We're still on A. Director, your evaluation performance.
Yes, it's up to the commission. We've already taken care of B, so this would actually be the last item on the agenda. If the commissioners feel they have enough time for it, looking at the time. It's about 4:33 PM right now. I leave it up
I
to the
think-
commissioners if you want to go through this.
I think we can take care of it right away, quickly.
Okay, then
In my
it's up to the-
opinion, we can do. So we're going into executive session?
Yes, and Joey would set that up right now. Would you want all the commissioners in and legal counsel?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
of course.
So Joey? So Mr. Chair, you announced that we're going into executive session.
Okay, I'm going, it's 4:34. I'm gonna announce we are going into executive session.
Will we be placed in the meeting room or,
Yes.
okay?
Okay, I guess we're all back.
Okay, okay, we're all back. Yes, for sure.
Are
Let's
we
say
at the end of our meeting?
we're at the end. We're at the end. We're gonna adjourn.
Yes,
I move.
Wait, first of all, I don't see Commissioner Wessling. Is she still here?
They're coming in. They're coming in.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So we have our special meeting coming on the 25th,
Right.
and then we would have our regular meeting on February 8th. That'll be
Okay.
the second Wednesday of February.
Just send
Okay,
out the
so-
notices, please.
I'll do that.
So February 25th is our special meeting, and the next one.
January 25th, excuse me, it'd be January 25th at 2:30. I'll send the notices out.
Okay,
And that's the one to deal specifically,
Right.
with the IPS section.
okay,
And then on February 8th will be the regular meeting, and that's where Nick will have time to
Right.
prepare for this. I'm very much aware that Nick last time wasn't comfortable with the DAG Canto's response. I mean, I went over the minutes, but he
Yeah.
does, he does need time to prepare for that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Nick has always
Okay,
been
right.
on our side.
yes,
on-
for sure.
Unlike what Bill Bischoff said, that he says, no, we're not. No, we are on the same page.
Yeah.
I'm very much aware of that. So. Yeah, so it'll be February 8th. That'll be the one. It's okay. Everybody's back on now.
Okay, so. Okay, so on next meeting is on January 25th, 2:30
Yes.
PM. And then our regular meeting will be on February 8th, 2:30 PM. Correct?
2:30. Correct.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody. Si Jules Masi, Madam Secretary, for the work with the investment committee, and Louisa, your articulation is awesome, as well as the director's articulation. Vice Chair, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're all great. Really.
Yeah, it
We
goes
do
without saying
need,
your performance,
we can't
and-
all be on the agreeable on everything in order to
Yeah.
get things right. If we all start agreeing on something, then something is wrong.
And definitely, yes, definitely. And Commissioner Rios, your insights and your questions are invaluable for sure. And this is an awesome team. Thank you again
Yes.
for this meeting. And Toph,
Mr.
thank you
Chair?
too. And condolences again.
Nick,
Director, to you and the staff. Okay?
Thank you. and
I want a question for Nick. Nick, was it who passed away in the family, Nick?
It was my mother-in-law.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Okay. Condolences to you,
Our
Nick.
condolences, Nick.
Yeah.
Our
Thank you.
condolences, Nick, to you and family.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
All right. I move.
Moved by Vice Chair. It is 4:49 PM. This
There it
meeting
is.
is adjourned. Everybody
you
be
go.
safe. Happy New Year. Take
Happy New
care.
Year to everyone.
Adios.
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 Congratulations, Director. Okay, we'll see you. Adios.
Adios.
Thank you.